The seven princes of hell. Most practitioners of the dark arts are familiar with them, have heard their names, or have even dared to invoke a couple of them. Some of the seven are fallen angels, while others were ancient gods cursed by the followers of Yahweh. But to get a better understanding of the seven princes, one must first understand the seven deadly sins, because the Christians of old made the princes and the sins synonymous. Even though they're not listed in the Bible, the seven deadly sins, also known as the capital vices, are behaviors classified as being those directly responsible for the most vile of immoralities. And they are pride, greed, lust, envy, gluttony, wrath, and sloth. And the deadliest of the seven is pride. Why, you may ask? Well, because with pride, one is able to keep the other six in check. Now, when it comes to the seven princes, there are a few different lists, one of the earliest being the Lantern of Light from the early 1400s. But the list we're using in this presentation is that which was written by German bishop and theologian Peter Binsfeld in 1589. And this list consists of Lucifer, Mammon, Asmodeus, Leviathan, Beelzebub, Satan, and Belphegor. Lucifer, also known as Phosphorus, he who some say is synonymous with Azazel. I think we know who Lucifer is. But for those who may be confused or think he's one with Satan, here's a little refresher. Lucifer is best known as an angel who turned against Yahweh and was exiled from heaven. His introduction was in the Old Testament, where his name was translated from the Hebrew word Hallel, which means brightness. It was said Lucifer was created by Yahweh in a form that was perfect, his presence noble and majestic. He was described as a bright morning star and was the most beautiful being created. A high and exalted angel surrounded by a light that made him brighter and more beautiful than all the others. But he wanted more. He wanted to be as important as Yahweh. Some of the angels decided to side with Lucifer and rebel against the tyrant Yahweh, he promising them a new order of complete freedom. Yahweh, though, threatened Lucifer, telling him that he would be found unworthy of paradise if he continued these thoughts. Lucifer basically told Yahweh to screw himself, so Yahweh declared that Lucifer and his followers could no longer remain in heaven. A war broke out, and the rebellion was defeated. Thus, Lucifer and his army was banished from heaven forever. Now, this is the standard tale of Lucifer, but some believe the word or name Lucifer was a title given by the writers of the Old Testament book of Isaiah to the king of Babylon, possibly Nebuchadnezzar II. What they were doing was comparing him to the morning star Venus because of his power and influence, a star cast down to earth because of his wickedness. Angel, demon, or simply king, what is important about Lucifer is what he symbolizes, and that is pride. Pride in oneself, to rebel against the authoritarian order that may jeopardize one's autonomy. Mammon, demon of greed. Believed to have been an angel more interested in heaven's golden pavement than its celestial leader, Mammon carried his lust for wealth into the dark abyss where he plots on ways to manipulate humans into adding to his treasure. Mammon, treasure of hell, is a mathematical genius capable of instantly accounting his personal wealth and that of hell's. This demon's monstrous greed is so powerful that innocent men can be sucked into it and corrupted so that they too focus their attention on building up worldly treasures instead of heavenly virtues. Although Christians over the ages have personified Mammon, there is no consistent image of this demon of greed. He has been depicted as a majestic angel with gleaming eyes and white hair, having retained this form after his fall from heaven. But he's also been shown as everything from a lumbering red-skinned demon of colossal size to a glorious emperor to a crooked, bony old man. The greatest power of the demon Mammon is the influence he can exert over the hearts and minds of humankind. He inspires greed so potent that even the good can be driven to corruption. Usually, Mammon's evil grip leads to obsession. Once you fall under his spell, you will struggle to focus on anything other than the treasure he has used to tempt you. But in the Bible, Mammon is not a demon, but simply an Aramaic word meaning wealth or property. For in Matthew it stated, "No man can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to one and despise the other. Ye cannot serve God and Mammon." In this verse, the word Mammon, which is not capitalized, can be traced back to the Aramaic dialect meaning wealth, while the more demonic connotation was invented during the Middle Ages when superstition and belief in the supernatural was rampant. So it's not surprising that the church would not only consider Mammon to be a black-hearted deity, but also one of the 7 princes of hell. And in this position of power, some theologians estimated that Mammon could have as many as 6,660,000 demons under his control, waiting to spring into action when he decides to execute one of his dark plans. Asmodeus is a demon whose wickedness is matched only by his cunning. Devil of sensuality and luxury, he specializes in spreading lust, and he doesn't just prey on common people. No, kings, queens, and even divine beings have felt his influence. But even though he is the prince of lust, his looks don't exactly make the girls wet. He's often depicted as having 3 heads, one like a sheep, one like a bull, and one like a man with pointed ears, a hooked nose, jagged teeth, and fire-breathing mouth. All 3 of his heads are crowded above a human torso, but at the waist, though, his body undergoes another bizarre transformation. He has rooster-like legs and the tail of a serpent. And he rides upon a lion with wings and neck of a dragon. But still others have described him as a young man with an attractive face. Who knows? Now, he not only preys on those who succumb to lust, he also dabbles in other sins and vices as well, such as gambling. Most scholars agree that Asmodeus is derived from a demon from Zoroastrianism, later adopted by the Jewish and Christian faiths. In the Talmud and the Testament of Salonen, Asmodeus appears as one of the demons who was forced to help build Solomon's temple. But he proved to be too powerful to suffer under the yoke of slavery and hurled Solomon 400 miles into the desert, then disguised himself as the king and took over his palace. Eventually, though, Solomon returned to drive the demon out. Over time, medieval demonologists ranked him high in the hierarchy of hell, calling him a strong and powerful king, commanding over 72 legions. Leviathan, primordial ruler over all creatures of the sea, was one of Yahweh's original creations. In the beginning, there were supposedly 2 Leviathans, male and female. Fearful of them creating offspring that might devour the world, Yahweh killed the female. This enraged the male Leviathan, who now waits for the end of times when he can battle Yahweh to the death. Leviathan is said to be dragon-like, with double layers of armored scales that protect his flesh, while others believe he's more like a whale. Leviathan is known to enjoy chaos, especially amongst human beings. He can breathe fire, make the waters boil, and kill with his poisonous breath, thus terrorizing Yahweh's favorite hairless apes. Over time, Leviathan eventually became associated with the creature known as the Hellmouth. The Hellmouth is the gaping maw of the fearsome beast that's supposed to rise up during the end of times. It is thought that the damned and the non-believers will disappear into the Hellmouth during the final judgment. And after the damned had disappeared into the mouth, Yahweh will descend upon the earth to have a final battle with the Leviathan. Beelzebub, demon of gluttony, is said to be Lucifer's chief lieutenant and one of the three most prominent fallen angels, the other two being Lucifer and Leviathan. Many scholars consider Beelzebub to be a derogatory term invented by the Israelites. Originally a Philistine god called Baal-zebub. When the Israelites became monotheistic, any god who wasn't the one true God had to be discredited. So they turned him into a demon with the nickname Lord of Flies. In the Testament of Solomon, King Solomon claims that Beelzebub was among the demons who he enslaved to build his temple. Anything that causes chaos or suffering is sure to delight this being. Like many demons, he's often described as a smallish creature, withered and hunched. He may have red or purple skin, ram horns, a forked tongue, a long tail, and powerful wings. Some grimoires state that when summoned, Beelzebub appears in the shape of a fly. But don't be fooled by his appearance. John Milton, in his epic poem Paradise Lost, featured Beelzebub as the second ranking of the fallen angels. Some theologians claim that Beelzebub usurped Satan's throne to become Prince of Hell, while some claim that Beelzebub and Satan are one and the same. Like all demons, Beelzebub has an assortment of magical powers, and his specifically seems to be possession. In the early days, he liked to embody golden idols, making them seem as if they had powers so people would worship them. Later, he began possessing human beings. His name has appeared in famous cases of possession, including the witches in the Salem witch trial. Satan. Do we really need to go into detail as to who he is? Now, whether you believe he is simply a metaphor, an avatar of the shadow archetype, a force, a current, or you believe he's a living, breathing being in some interdimensional realm called hell, Satan is the preeminent entity on the Western left-hand path. The word Satan is the English transliteration of the Hebrew ha-Satan, the adversary. And in the Old Testament, Satan doesn't appear as some demonic leader of an angelic empire, no. Instead, he's a being of superior intelligence and status who works for Yahweh as a servant of sorts. And when the adversary appears in the Hebrew Bible's book of Job, he's a member of Yahweh's royal court, an angel, Ben Elohim, a son of God, one of the divine beings. And he's got a job to do, and in this case, it's to challenge Job, to get him to turn on Yahweh. Now, this is the Old Testament Satan. In the New, he's quite different. This is because of Christ. And because Christ is all good, there now has to be an opposing force, an adversary, if you will. In this version, he's an evil spirit who, through his subordinate demons, takes possession of human bodies, making them diseased or act out violently. Over the centuries, theologians have discussed the problem raised by a belief in the existence of a being like Satan in a universe created and sustained by an all-powerful, all-wise, all-loving God. Back in the 18th century, in the Age of Enlightenment, there was a revolt against belief in the supernatural, and some Christian theologians tended to treat the Bible as allegory. In their eyes, Satan was a mythological attempt to express the reality and extent of evil in the universe, existing outside and apart from humanity, but profoundly influencing the human sphere. But I think we're all aware that that's not what all Christians think. Whether you believe Satan is an actual being or not, what he symbolizes, that's what's most important. Where Lucifer is the symbol of personal pride, Satan is the symbol of the wrathful adversary within. Belphegor, demon of sloth, is a phallic deity associated with all forms of debauchery. He's a shapeshifter who often appears as a terrible demon with leathery flesh, huge horns, a fanged gaping mouth, and claw-like hands. But he will, at times, take the form of a beautiful woman, naked in all her glory, to seduce those who would fall for her wiles or his wiles. Belphegor's origins go back to the ancient Middle East, and because of this, he can be found in the Bible where he really pissed off Moses. What happened was, during the Exodus from Egypt, some Israelites started making sacrifices to Belphegor, then called Baal Peor, the patron of Moab. This happened because some of the men began fucking the women of Moab, who introduced them to their local god. Moses handed down the death penalty, and it is said that as many as 24,000 people were killed. But we're not sure if they were actually executed or Moses called down a plague to cause their deaths. Belphegor is difficult to conjure, but if you're successful and he takes a liking to you, the demon will bestow great treasures and wealth, as well as the ability to make discoveries and create inventions of all sorts. But with most demonic invocations, the unwise are doomed to failure, because Belphegor's true mission is to draw the lazy into the sin of sloth, rather than producing and really getting shit done. So there you have it, the 7 princes of hell. What do you think? Are you willing to try and beckon them, bring them forth? But be careful if you do, and remember that most important of all sins, pride. For pride will allow you to enjoy what the 7 have to offer without losing control and you becoming a lazy, angry, greedy, envious, masturbating pig. Until next time, my friends.